everyone, I had a baby in June last year, and I've mentioned multiple times that after he was born I got sick, and I've said multiple times that I was going to film the video, but it's a long one to film and it's also like not a fun story. I was debating whether I would, share it or not because it's quite personal and very intense, but I thought it's important to share about, women's health and the health of people carrying babies, and we need resources. This is important, I think. But if you are pregnant, don't get worried that this will happen to you because it probably won't. This is super rare. I was just so unlucky. This is not a thing that happens. I'm sorry if it's a little bit echoey in here, but it's just because I can't film in the living room right now and it's my son's bedroom, so it felt very, fitting to film in here. I think I need to give a few disclaimers before we start. I will be talking about childbirth, I will be talking about baby being sick, I will be talking about, me being sick. So this is very much a hospital story, so if you don't like medical stuff or just people being sick or babies being sick and stuff like that, maybe this is not the video for you, and that's fine. But the outcome of all of this was okay. We're doing fine. So this is the story of the worst physical thing I've ever gone through, and I thought that would be childbirth. I thought nothing would, compare to it. I thought that would be like the most challenging thing I would have to go through, like physically. So getting through it kind of felt like, now I'm done. Like nothing's gonna get worse than this, right? I was so wrong. I'm not gonna tell my birth story, but I need to, share a few things from the birth because it's gonna be relevant for the story. And also I'm gonna be looking at my phone a lot because this is so much to remember, and I'm not even gonna there's lots of things missing from the story I'm about to tell because it's a lot. Brace yourselves, this is a crazy story. So my actual labor, like pushing out the baby type labor, took 2.5 hours. That's a long time to be pushing. My baby was very big and I had a lot of amniotic fluid, so it was really hard to get it out. So a difficult labor, and after he was out I had a retained placenta, so my placenta wouldn't come out. So because of that I lost 1.5 liters of blood, which is quite a lot of blood to lose. They wanted me to stay in bed for the first day, just chill, let your body do its thing, just chill. And the next day I, got up on my feet. I did really well. I felt okay considering everything I had gone through. So I was like, oh my God, this went so much better than I thought it would. And that day, I think I'll, say the days of the week so that it makes it a little bit easier to keep the story organized. But he was born on a Sunday, and that Monday they did a blood test and they found that he had infection. So he had to go to a bigger hospital 5 hours away because he needed to go to the NICU, and our local hospital does not have a NICU because he needed to get antibiotics, and you can't do that unless you can, monitor him 24/7. So he was put in an air ambulance and taken to that different city. I was in a different air ambulance, and my partner had to take a normal plane because there wasn't room for him, basically. And I walked from the ambulance to the plane myself, so I felt pretty good about that. I was able to walk, all of that. I got to the hospital with the NICU, and the baby was fine. They told me immediately that he'll be fine. It won't affect him in the long run. We got everything under control. So that was good. We were like, okay, we're just gonna, stay here for a few days and he'll get better and then we'll go home. We can deal with this. But we did make the decision to not tell anyone that we were there because it was kind of stressful. This was the day after our son was born, and he was in the NICU and had all wires and shit. It's scary, even though he was a big baby, he was fine, he was strong, and he was gonna get better, pretty quick. So it wasn't like we were scared that something would go wrong or anything, but it was just not a fun experience, of course, as anyone can imagine, I'm sure. So we decided that we would just keep it to ourselves. We wouldn't, tell our families that we were in the NICU and that we were even in that city. So we just, kept sending pictures that we had taken because he had a feeding tube and stuff. So we couldn't send live pictures because they would, be able to tell that he was sick. And I know this is a weird decision. A lot of people would probably want their family support, but if we told people that my baby was in the NICU, they would need to be updated because they would be worried, and I just did not have the mental capacity to deal with that. I didn't have the capacity to, keep updating people, so we just decided to, we'll tell them when this is over, but right now we just gotta take care of ourselves. We just need to, be in this bubble. So that was that. We thought in a few days we'll be home, everything is fine. Then that Tuesday, I wake up and I feel sore. My butt feels sore, the left side of my butt. And we were kind of laughing it off. Of course, I just went through the craziest workout of my life, so it's not weird that I would be sore, right? And I remember I felt a little bit poorly through that day, but I had that massive blood loss, so I just felt okay, it's just because of that, right? Later that day, I did skin to skin, so I was sitting down with him for maybe an hour, I think. I don't remember. But when I got up, I couldn't put weight on my left leg, and it was painful. It wasn't crazy painful, but it was oh shit, something's you know, something's happened, I don't know. Couldn't like really straighten up very well because it was painful. So my partner had to support me back to our room. I lay down for a few hours and then I needed to pee, and he literally like, I don't know, the bathroom was probably like 2 meters away from my bed, or like the actual toilet. Like it was not far, it was only a few meters, and I took so long. I couldn't really put weight on my foot, so I had to like, you know, slide it across the floor, and it was just really painful. The nurse that was with our baby, when I got up after the skin to skin, she was worried because she saw that something was wrong with me. She came in to check on me, and she and this other nurse, like, they helped prop me up because they thought I had like a backache, like my back was hurting or something, because I had, you know, just been pregnant and had a lot of weight on my body. So, you know, I don't know, we were all trying to like make sense of it, but we couldn't really because it was very sudden. But I was very much in this headspace of, I don't want anything to be wrong with me. When you've just given birth, first of all, you don't want to deal with pain. You're very done with pain for a little bit. And also because I had, you know, our son was going to be fine and we were going to go home, I just didn't want anything else to be wrong. I just couldn't be bothered to like have something be wrong with me. So I was kind of just like, well, it's nothing, well, like it'll go away. And also like earlier that day, a midwife had, oh my god, what is it called, like cleared me from like needing any more care. So I was, oh my god, what is this called? Basically I was no longer a patient, I was just a next of kin in the hospital. But later that night, like 11 maybe, she came back and she was like, you should go to the ER, like something is wrong. You're in so much pain that this is not normal. We went to the ER and the doctor had to, you know, do these tests and like twist me around and stuff. And obviously it was so freaking painful. I can't even put into words. And it was actually kind of helpful that I had given birth without the epidural, because I could explain the pain by being like, well, I gave birth to a 4.5 kilo baby without an epidural, and this is by far more painful. My birth was freaking painful, but that pain in my like back pelvis area, nothing, I don't know, like that was just beyond anything. I like, excruciating doesn't even cover it. I can't even explain how painful it was. The doctor was obviously just puzzled. I got an IV put in, I got some painkillers, and I got some like fast acting morphine. Did nothing, didn't even touch the sides. It did nothing. And I was just like, I know this is nothing. Like, I will go back to my room, I'll sleep, and we'll see tomorrow because it'll be done. Like, you know, it'll be over tomorrow. Because I was just so like, I don't want to deal with anything else. I've dealt with a terrible pregnancy, a hard ass labor, and my baby getting sick. This is enough. Like, I can't deal with more. I don't want anything to be wrong with me. Like, I'm just gonna go back to my room, sleep it off with some painkillers, and then tomorrow everything will be fine. As you can probably guess, things were not fine. My partner like helped to prop me on the side for going to sleep, so because I thought maybe like if I lie on my side, like it'll be better for my back, because we thought still that it was my back, but or like my pelvis. I don't even know. I don't remember what we actually thought, but the doctor was obviously puzzled because he was like, what the hell is this? And he thought it was something like muscular. They thought that this was just like pain, not something actually being wrong with me. So they thought like, oh, it was hard labor, so like she's in pain, blah blah blah. We'll try and see if these painkillers work. And also because I was so insistent that this is nothing. Well, I'll just give him some painkillers and it'll be gone, because I just could not be bothered. It was so freaking painful. My partner was obviously very worried. Seeing your partner in pain in labor is one thing, that's bad enough, but seeing me in pain after that, like obviously he did not have a good time. I took painkillers at like, I don't know, 5 a.m. or something during the night. I don't remember when it was, but you can only take them like with like a certain window. When I woke up, I was still in the same amount of pain. It was, you know, beyond excruciating. He was like, can we go back to the ER? Something's wrong. I was like, no, just help me go to the bathroom. And then the second he tried to move me, like it felt like someone just stabbed the huge, biggest knife into my body, and I kind of like, I don't remember if I screamed, but I was like, oh, it was obvious that I can't move. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's go to the ER. Lots of people came to do tests from different like departments in the hospital. Everyone was confused. No one could figure out what this was. I still got painkillers, but I couldn't, you know, I couldn't move. I was in so much pain. I could barely talk. It was wild. I had to tell my partner not to make any jokes, because if I laughed, like if I made any movements at all, like it would just hurt so much, and it would take me so long to come down from the pain. If I was lying still, it hurt a little bit less, but every time I moved, it like the pain kind of peaked, and then it would take, you know, 20 minutes to come down from it. So laughing was not worth it. And I laugh a lot. The pain really was unbearable. I wanted to just be put to sleep so that I wouldn't have to endure it. Like I did not want to be in my body. I didn't want to have to deal with this. I didn't know what to do. I had to do an x-ray, which was horrible because you have to be transferred and they tried to transfer me, and my partner, obviously he was waiting outside of the room, and he just heard me scream, and they had to put this like board thing under my pelvic area to do the x-ray, because obviously I couldn't be transferred. Like they were like, okay, yeah, this is not working, we have to do the board thing. Obviously not fun for him to hear me scream from in there. I didn't even scream during labor. I made noise when I pushed, but I didn't scream from pain. Obviously it was really hard to lie on that board. It's a flat, hard surface, not nice at all, but I got through it. They had to redo their x-ray because I didn't like relax my body enough. I was in a weird position, but it was so hard. I can't even, like, through all of this, I can't even explain how bad it was. After this day full of tests and people being confused, they sent me to the orthopedic floor because they thought like this is something to do with my joints and like my movement, so that's where I belong. The nurses there were so nice and friendly and asked about my baby and stuff, and you know, they were trying to be like really sweet because obviously I was away from my baby and I didn't sleep in the same room as him, and it was really hard to be away from him, of course. But I remember feeling okay being there, and I think, yeah, when I was there, my partner got to, because our baby did pretty well, so he could, you know, take him on this little trolley bed thing, so he could take him to my room and I could see him. I couldn't hold him, I think, because I think it was still like too just hard for me to hold him because I couldn't move, but I got to, you know, see my baby. And of course, through all of this, my partner was like torn between his son who was in the NICU and me who had something weird like wrong with her. So he was obviously just like between us all the time, and obviously this was exhausting and terrible for him, but he didn't want to complain because he was not sick, but obviously like that was so hard for him. I couldn't eat much because I didn't have an appetite, and I was really nauseous, and like obviously the painkillers, like they don't help your appetite either. I remember that I slept okay this night. Like obviously it was hard to be away from my son, like I said, but I remember that I felt so taken care of and everything that I managed to kind of rest. Obviously it was so painful that I couldn't really like sleep super well, but at least like I remember that I felt okay. And in the morning, the first good thing happened. I felt that my milk had come in, because when you have a, you know, big blood loss, like it usually takes longer for the milk to come in. I had tried to breastfeed when we were in the hospital in my hometown, like the first day, but he was really annoyed and like he didn't really take the breast very well, and that was obviously because he had an infection, but we didn't know that at the time. We just thought he was fussy because obviously the labor was hard for him too, and he swallowed like lots of amniotic fluid and he was nauseous from that, but we didn't know he was actually sick. So I hadn't really gotten to breastfeeding very well, but I hadn't been able to, you know, focus that much on trying to express my colostrum or anything because I was just in so much pain. But getting the milk in felt so good. I had pumped when we were in the NICU. I don't think I got anything. That's also why we did skin to skin, so that I could, you know, help stimulate, but it felt so good that my milk had come in. Obviously I couldn't give my milk to him because I was on painkillers, but they were like, keep pumping, keep your production going. But when I was there that morning, I had blood work that came back and showed that I had an infection, and my values were super high, and I was so scared. I was like, no, I'm actually sick. Like I can't just pretend this is nothing. I'm actually fucking sick. Like what the hell? So I called my partner and he was asleep, and he really needed that sleep. So he was still like asleep. It was probably like 10 a.m. or something. And he got woken up by me calling him being like, I have an infection. I'm really scared. You need to come here ASAP. You know, these nurses, I had such good like chemistry with them, and then as we left the room, we were like joking or something, and one of them, like the one that was pushing the bed, hit the wall, and obviously that made me startle up, and I fucking hurt so much, and I was just like and then obviously it didn't stop hurting until we were at the next location, which was the like labor and delivery ward, because they thought like this is, you know, labor related because it happened after labor, like this is, you know, because of my labor. I put on the same dress to pretend it's still the same day, but this is a long story, so it's taken me a while to get through all of it. Okay, so we got to the labor ward and we only stayed in that room for a maximum, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe. They put another IV in because I had to start antibiotics. Because they hadn't identified the infection yet, I had to start 3 different antibiotics, and I had to, you know, get a dose like every, I don't know, I think I had like 12 doses a day or something. It was wild. So it was a lot of medication, like it was a lot of stuff. So the labor ward was kind of like, as she's starting this, she really should be monitored like for the first 24 hours. So I was moved straight up to the ICU, like the intensive care unit. I traveled around that hospital so much and tested out like almost every department. Like it was wild. I went around a lot. So obviously I had like IVs on both, I had like 3 different ones, and I also had like some kind of disgusting fucking thing that had to be put into my vein, and it was the worst. The guy used like an ultrasound to put it in because like not everyone does that, but he preferred to do it that way and like just to get it right. And I think I was like, well, does that hurt? And he was like, yes. And medical professionals don't often just say that, right? Like they would be like, some people think so, or like, I don't know, they wouldn't be so straightforward about it, but like that was not nice. But it was more so that veins gross me out. So I think it was more that, because I was in so much goddamn pain. And I was getting painkillers at like a timetable, so I was getting them all the time, but I was still in so much pain that I just did not want to exist. They did talk about giving me an epidural because I was in so much pain, like waist down, just so I would be able to move and stuff, because they were like, you can't be in this state, like you can't just be lying here not able to move and in this much pain. And I was just like, no. I did not use one for my labor, which I maybe like should have, like maybe it would have given me a better experience, and I didn't. And it was not because I wouldn't have wanted one or wanted to be one of those people like, yeah, I gave birth without an epidural, I'm so tough, like I'm strong. It was not because of that. It was mainly, and I don't even want to say this really, but it was mainly because of side effects, and also because some of my friends have had like not great effects from it, like it's only worked on one of the sides, or it's worked for like 30 minutes and stuff. So I was like, it's not really worth it risking getting side effects if it's not even like a guarantee that it'll work. So I really did not want an epidural. So then for them to be like, yeah, like we're considering giving it to you, but because I had like, I don't even know what this is called, but it's like a collection of fluid, and I had that like where it was painful, and because of that, like because they didn't know exactly what that was and stuff, because like my infection was so weird, they didn't want to give me an epidural, luckily, because I don't think that was my decision. Like I was like, I don't want one, but I think they would have given it to me because of the state I was in. So the people at the ICU were so good. We talked, we had like really nice conversations, and they gave me lots of sympathy, and people asked about my son and stuff, and it made me feel really nice, because at this point I didn't really feel like a mom, because I hadn't been with my son, like I hadn't spent time and I hadn't cared for my son. Really, I'd only been with them for 24 hours, and then he was flown away, and it was just crazy. I hadn't been able to like fully feel like he was my son. Like I knew I had a baby, of course, but I just didn't feel properly like a mom, because it had been such a whirlwind of like scary shit and emotions. It was really nice to like get to talk about him and stuff, and they talked about like their own experience. Like it was just really nice. It was just what I needed. And you know how I said like when I was at the like orthopedic floor, I felt like okay that night. The night in the ICU was horrible. Like I still think of that, and that's actually one of the worst moments from this time, because like the nurse that was there that night, I think maybe nurses don't talk to the patients like at night to like let them chill and stuff, but she just did not, I don't know if she didn't know that I was separated from my baby, because it was obviously it took such a toll on me that I needed to kind of be given some kind of care for that. And I just couldn't be alone. It was horrible, like being alone. I wanted to have someone to talk to, but she wasn't really like interested, it seemed. She didn't really try to talk to me at all. Like she only gave me medicine, and I asked for like I had like a cloth on my forehead, and I asked her to like put some cold water on it, and she was just like, no, it's cold, and then she put it back on my forehead, and I was like, well, I can't feel it anymore because it's the same temperature as me. But I was not in a position where I would be like, no, can you please put it in cold water? Like I had no strength. Like I just needed people to do what I needed, and I couldn't, like if they didn't, I couldn't ask them. Like I was just so weak. And I remember, I don't know if I can even say this without tearing up, but my partner sent me pictures of our baby, because he was with him, and he got to change his diaper and feed him and stuff like that. And he sent me pictures of like him with his eyes open and stuff, and videos, and I hadn't really seen him with his eyes open that much. And it was just like when I saw the pictures, it was so hard to look at them at the same time. As obviously I just wanted to look at them all the time, but I cried so much that night. It was so bad, because I didn't feel like his mom, and it was so, oh my god. I just felt like he deserves a mom that feels like a mom, and I don't feel like a mom. It felt like nothing was real, and that I didn't have a baby. And then I looked at the pictures, and that like it was my baby, and I wasn't with him when he was sick. I really would have needed that nurse to ask me how I was doing if it's not obvious. The next day we moved back to the labor ward. My partner got like a stack of like baby stuff, and you know, he got like all set up in there because we got to, you know, have our son with us, and we were like all three of us were together in that room. In that room, like I have positive memories because the nurses and like midwives and everyone there were just amazing. The people, like the staff there, holy shit, they were so good, and they just, oh my god, we had like bands with them, we joked around, we had like just heartfelt conversations, and just people who really cared about us and just thought we were great people and really wanted to do good things for us and all of that. And it was just so genuine. So many people that are in the right jobs, and it was just so good. So the midwife who had signed me off from needing more care, like signed me off as a patient, was there, and she, like, I came back and she was kind of like, what the fuck? Because obviously earlier that day that I got sick, she was there and I was fine, and we were talking about how fine I was, and I also said that I was sore, and she was like, yeah, like, it's probably just, you know, your body just being tired. Like, she also thought that that was probably normal. And then we just came back there, and it was kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? What is going on? Yeah, my son was discharged from the NICU this day, I forgot to say, so that we all, you know, could be together. And he was no longer a patient, like he didn't need anything. So he was just signed over to being like next of kin, like my partner was. And also, just to mention this, like my partner was there. He got to stay in the hospital because I had a baby, and you can't separate me from the baby. And because I couldn't take care of the baby, my partner had to be there. So there was no like issue. He got to stay in the hospital as well. And I know like in a lot of places this would probably be a problem, and also in some cities, but luckily we live in the north where we have a little bit, like the health system isn't as strained as it is further south, so I think we're lucky. But also, like, you just can't separate a mom from her baby, and when I couldn't take care of the baby, I don't remember exactly when these things happened, but I did have an MRI scan and a CT scan done at some point. I don't even remember which one I had first. I guess it's the CT scan, because the MRI scan was really like, I was prepared for that for like at least a day. The reason I was prepared is because, if you don't know, like, you have to transfer, which is the first problem, and you have to lie still for, I don't know, at least 30 minutes. It was scary, and I did not want to do it, of course, but I knew that I had to, and I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna push myself through it, because we need to find out what this is. Like, we need to figure this shit out, because this is really weird. Okay, I just realized I forgot to attach the microphone to this camera, so I hope the audio for that last bit wasn't terrible. So the people at the CT scan were so good, understanding. I got like this super fast like IV like painkiller right before, like lots of it, like crazy amounts, so it would be like a little bit less painful, but it was still just wild, because obviously I had to move, and it was so goddamn painful. But I had like a really wonderful midwife with me, and she, like, I don't know, it was good. And then for the MRI scan, I was like, it's so painful to transfer, like, this is the worst thing ever. They had so much understanding. They really tried to make it as good as it could for me, as they could. Like, they were really trying their best, and I really just appreciated that so much, because I was just at the mercy of these people that had to move my body, and it's scary. And you can't control, like, obviously it was all like, okay, 1, 2, 3, we're doing this, but you're not in control, and you can't just stop midway. Like, you can't stop. You have to, you know, if you're on your way to transfer, like, it just needs to get done. I can't even explain how painful this was, and having to lie still, it was so bad. It was so like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself for the next 30 minutes. And you're like listening to this like radio station music or something, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I just wanted to be like put under like all the time. It was just like, I don't want to be in my body. But they were really happy with me. Like, they thought I did a really good job, because I was so focused, because if I fuck up, like, we have to do this again, and I have to transfer again, and like, you know, I'm not doing this again. Like, this is terrible. So people at that hospital were just so good with making the situation as good as possible for me, and, you know, making me as comfortable as possible. And it's not an easy task. How do you make a person in excruciating pain comfortable? Like, you can't, but you, at least them making me feel like listened to and seen and understood and all of that, like, that really mattered to me. So we stayed at the labor ward. I kept getting antibiotics, and I pumped to keep my production going. So we would pump every like 3 hours. The hospital pump is like not hands-free, so you have to hold it. It was kind of a mess, because I was lying on my back flat, so, you know, milk just spilled everywhere, and, you know, but we couldn't use the milk because of the medication I was taking, both the antibiotics and the painkillers, like they were dangerous for the baby. So it didn't really matter like if it spilled and all of that, but it was so silly. And obviously I had to do it at night as well, to every 3 hours like just keep pumping to try and save my milk production, because I really wanted to breastfeed and it really sucked to not be able to. I'll talk more about that because I'll make a my breastfeeding journey video soon, so I won't go too much into it right now. I also tried to do some skin to skin also for the breastfeeding, but also for like bonding with him, because he kind of felt like a stranger to me, but also like I loved him so much. He was my son, but it was so exhausting for me to have him on my chest and my belly, because like everything was just exhausting and I couldn't really move. And if he moved, sometimes if my partner like came out of the bathroom, he would do it so like suddenly that the baby would get startled, and that would like me, I would get startled, and if I moved suddenly like that, it was so fucking painful. And I was just like, oh my god, you have to take him, like I can't. Oh, it was so bad. But what was really nice is that if he was upset or something and my partner put him on me, he calmed down and he like settled, and you know, it was soothing for him to be put on me. So it was really, that was just really nice for me, because as I didn't feel like a mom, it was really nice that he knew that I was his mom. It was just so like, I don't know, reassuring. Like this bond hadn't been broken by me not being with him for the last few days. And like while I was in the ICU and like orthopedic, like my partner had taken him to see me, but it's obviously not the same, and it's not like I was lying flat, so it's not like I could really see much or, you know, interact with him that much. And you know, he was a newborn baby anyway, so it's not really that interactive, but I think you get it. Also, I had this like flute, looked like some kind of pipe that I had to blow into every hour to keep my lungs moving and to not have all this shit like gather in my lungs, like slime and just, you know, bacteria and stuff. So it's very common apparently to get pneumonia or something if you lie flat, because your lungs just fucking collapse. Your body is not made for just lying still. Like that's something I learned. My body just fell to pieces in that short time. So what we did to pass time while we were in this situation, we watched TLC. We never watched TLC. The only times I watch TLC, if I watch them through like reaction channels, and specifically like Cinnamon Toast Ken or PewDiePie, I don't watch TLC. Like I don't really think it's very rewarding. I don't really take a lot away from it. So watching trash TV, mostly trash TV. Sometimes we watched MasterChef Australia, and that is not trash, that's so wholesome. Anyway, like watching, you know, 90 Days Fiancé and what are these other shows? I can't even think of it, but like watching these things, it was so good for just taking our minds off of things, because our life sucked right there. So just being able to escape into fucking shit reality TV, like that was great. So that's what we did all day. So it was Friday that we moved to the labor ward and on Monday, because physios don't work during the weekends. One Monday I got a physiotherapist who came and she got me to stand up. Obviously I got lots of painkillers for this and it was fucking painful and horrible. But obviously they had to like get me mobile because my body was, like I said, falling to pieces. Like I lost so much function and like just I don't know, it was horrible. So they got me standing after a lot of, like, this was the second time she came in. Like first they got me sitting on the bed, and then like the next time they got me standing up, and I just started coughing uncontrollably. It was wild. I've never experienced anything like that, because there was like, even though I'd used this flute thing, there was still so much shit in my lungs, so I had to like cough it up a little bit, and it was just like wild. I could not stop coughing. I hadn't been upright for basically a week, so it wasn't that weird that some mucus and shit would accumulate in my lungs. Also, one thing, I'd been lying on my back for a week and my partner like scratched my back, and oh, that was just the most wonderful sensation. My partner also helped me take a shower for the first time in a week, which was amazing. I hadn't had a shower since that Monday when we got there to that hospital, and it was so nice. I felt so clean. Obviously they had given me a wash and all of that through that week, but just being able to actually take a shower felt so good. I obviously sat down and my partner like washed me and all of that, but like, oh, I felt so good. Okay, so I skipped ahead a little bit. That Sunday I called my parents. I was gonna do it on Friday because then we kind of like knew a little bit more, but they had like my nephew at the cabin with them, so I just wanted to like not ruin their weekend because I knew they were gonna be thinking about this a lot. So that Sunday we called them, and I was like, well, I know you're wondering like why we're still at the hospital, because they asked every day like, are you going home? Because usually you stay in the hospital for like 2-3 days when you have a baby, and then we were still there. And I told my dad on Friday that like, no, we're not going home, I have an infection, so I'm just getting some antibiotics and, you know, so we're staying a little bit longer. That's what I told him, because obviously if we're staying in the hospital for a goddamn week after having a baby, they're gonna know that something's wrong anyway, so I might just, you know, be honest about that. But obviously I didn't tell him to anywhere, like I didn't tell him anywhere near the extent of the situation. So we called and we were like, well, yeah, we know, you know, something's up, but this is this, and they were just like, what the actual fuck. But my mom did agree that there was no point in telling her before, like while all of this was going on, because she definitely wouldn't have slept at all, and that's just good for no one. They can't do anything, like we're in a different city. So the infection floor was 2 flights away from the labor ward, and every time my baby was hungry, like my partner had to go and get a bottle for him, so he had to go 2 floors down, and obviously this took like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something. Didn't take that long, but my baby was, you know, crying like a crazy. If you have had a newborn who is hungry, you know what I'm talking about. 2 seconds is too long. So 5 minutes, that's just unbearable for him. And it was so hard for me because sometimes like my partner would give him to me and then run to the labor ward. And of course, the baby was looking for the boob and I couldn't give him the boob because I could have killed him, you know? It was so hard. It was honestly like I was always crying when my partner came back because like you're refusing your baby food, but your baby doesn't understand that milk is poisonous to them. Sometimes I would get the nurses to like rock him and hold him while my partner was running, but obviously I can't do that every time because yeah. So it was really hard, and I would like sing to him and all of this, try and distract him, but like it was so hard to deny him the boob because he just wants food. He's hungry. Denying a hungry baby food, that's hard. Oh my god, that was so bad. That was definitely like the second hardest thing after that night at the ICU. Several of the nurses in that floor as well were just so good. And while we were there, I tried to practice walking. It's really hard to explain what losing a function is like because you take walking for granted if you can walk, and I've never had, you know, a problem with my mobility before. I just took it for granted forever. We're human beings. Stupidly, we take everything for granted until we lose it, and then we're like, holy shit, this sucks. Okay, we're approaching bedtime, so 1, I don't got a lot of time, and 2, I had to close the door again because I need both doors closed that are separating me and the baby because he's making a lot of noise. He's now 6 months, 7 months by the time you're seeing this, so it's been a while since this happened, and I can walk. Spoiler alert. Yeah, so I got better with walking every day, but small steps, very small steps. I was still in a lot of pain, and I would usually time like taking some extra painkillers before I was gonna do my workout. Walking to the bathroom was suddenly, you know, a crazy workout, and it was exhausting, and I was so sweaty, and it was wild because I had to like time it with, I wanted to like do my walking and then take a shower because I got so goddamn sweaty, but both walking and taking a shower was a lot. Like I was exhausted, but the first time I took a shower by myself felt so good. Like obviously sitting down, but like being able to wash myself because I couldn't really move my arms that much because it would hurt, because if you're moving, you know, I don't even think I really explained what was wrong with me, but they figured out that I had an infection in my pelvic bone, like in the joint, which doesn't move a whole lot, so it's very hard to get to. It's like you have to kind of like pierce the infection, and it was very hard to attack it. That's why I had to do the 3 different antibiotics. It was wild. And through this week, if you don't like needles, and you know, needles are triggering and gross, like just, I don't know, skip ahead like a minute. But I kept getting new IVs put in because there was so much pressure on them, because I had like almost every hour I had a freaking, you know, medicine come through them. So it was just a lot. And I had to get poked with needles a lot, and my poor veins that have always been amazing because people are always able to get it the first time because they're so good, they were fucked. Like they were just invisible at this point. Like you could not find them. Even getting a blood test in the morning was hard. Sometimes they needed to do several tries, and this is a whole new world to me. I had no appetite. Like obviously the medicine was probably killing my appetite, and I just, in general, I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't feel like eating. My partner would go out and get food sometimes, like takeout, because the hospital food is not always that good, and I just didn't have, like, I couldn't eat that much, and so I would drink like Nutri drinks a lot. I would eat like yogurt, and I don't know, it was really hard to eat basically. So on, I think Thursday, they were like, your IVs are just getting fucked all the time, and your infection is down so much that we can start using pills by tomorrow, like pill form antibiotics. Also, we can think about, you know, going back home to my local hospital. Not home, but to the local hospital. So that was really good because, you know, then we can have visitors, and also my partner could get some more clothes for both him and the baby because he was like running out of clothes, and we didn't have that much clothes for the baby. Like obviously we could borrow from the hospital, but he had to like wash clothes at the hospital, and like it was just wild. His workload was wild. And obviously we couldn't take a normal plane because I couldn't walk and I also couldn't move. Like I had to lie flat, so we couldn't take a normal plane. So we had to get an air ambulance, and that's obviously a low priority because it's not an emergency at all. It's just transporting us from that hospital to the next. So on Friday they like ordered the air ambulance, and they were like, it's probably not gonna happen till like Monday because you're so low priority, you're the lowest priority. And then like half an hour later, they were like, well, the ambulance people are on their way up here to get you. Like the plane is at the airport. And we were like, what the fuck? So we had to like get everything together. Obviously I couldn't really do much, but I transferred to the like stretcher, and they tied the baby onto me. Like they fastened him in this like kangaroo pouch, and that's how they transport babies. It was kind of cool. And luckily he just slept through the whole thing. Luckily he had just had food, because we were like, what if he just starts screaming like in the plane? We don't have food, like my boobs, you know, can't feed him, so we don't have like food. It was fucking stressful, but luckily he just slept through the whole thing. He didn't wake up until he was like, we were at our hospital, but the plane ride was so rough because of the turbulence. Also the ambulance ride to the hospital, like when there were bumps, it was like, I stood, you know, it made my body, you know, startle my body, and I just, in the plane, like obviously the turbulence, oh my god, it was so fucking painful. I can't even, like, that was such a long 30 minutes and I was just holding on for dear life. But obviously, like, what am I gonna do? Like I can't really, you know, stop the turbulence, and that will make my body move because I don't know when it's coming. And I was of course bracing myself all the time, but it wasn't enough. So one cute thing, we were picked up by the ambulance, of course, at the airport in my hometown and taken to the hospital. And when we got there, one of the ambulance people said that, oh, I was the one who drove him, my baby, to the airport when he was taken to that other hospital. And it just made me so like, oh my god, thank you for taking care of my baby. Like it made me so, just it warmed my heart, because like these people are just taking care of us. Like that's their job, that's what they do all day. And also that guy, like I didn't realize, but I saw him before. Like I saw him when he came to pick up my son, because that's when I was taken by the ambulance as well, and he made some kind of joke, and I just remembered I actually laughed. And laughing when I'd just seen my son like be sick and have like all of this stuff and gotten an IV put in and all of that, like it just looked so horrible to me. It was wild. I was just like, what the hell is happening? And he made a joke, and it was just like, I'm able to laugh. Like I don't know, like that joke made me feel so much better. And I told him, and I was like, oh my god, like you just lifted my spirits by that freaking joke. So, well, we had an uneventful like week at the hospital in my hometown. We just stayed there. I practiced walking. There was this one lovely person who really pushed me and helped me learn to walk. And also I got physio every day. And on Friday, I think we moved on to crutches, or Thursday, I don't remember. I took like a little lap around the like floor, and I was like, I can walk, but obviously I was super fucking slow, and like it was so exhausting. My local hospital is not as fancy as the one we were at, so we didn't have our own bathroom, so I had to like walk to the bathroom and back. And the first time I did this, it took 45 minutes, and the bathroom is 5 meters away. Like it was so wild, but it was such a win, like when I was able to walk there and take a shower and come back on my own. So I've had a microphone malfunction, and parts of me talking about being at the hospital and also like coming home and learning to walk and what that was like just disappeared. But I feel like the most important thing I wanted to add, because I really just want to upload this video, is that yes, the hospital stay was uneventful, but it was still very nice to be able to come back to our hometown. And the first day when we were there, obviously we didn't have our car at the hospital, it was by our apartment. My twin brother came to get my partner to take him so that he could get the car. So obviously he needed the car to be able to, you know, run errands, like go and get stuff at home and go to the store and stuff like that. And it was just amazing to have my twin brother meet the baby, because like we had this baby for 2 weeks and he still had not met him, which was really weird. 2 of my friends work at the hospital, so they got to go like come by and see him and see us, and my friends got to come visit throughout the week, which was lovely. Like it was so nice to finally be able to show people this baby that we had for 2 weeks and we hadn't showed him off. Like obviously, like for us, like we just wanted to show off this baby and weren't able to. My mom had a really bad cold, so my parents weren't able to come, unfortunately. So I just wanted to add that. It was very nice to be at our local hospital. So all of the stuff about like learning to walk and all of that, like it was hard basically and very weird to imagine. That's all you need to know. Then like on Friday, we were discharged and I had this like plan to reduce my medicine, or like no, my painkillers. I was still taking the antibiotics for a few more weeks in pill form, of course. It was so fucking good to have my last IV removed. And just like, I'm not gonna fucking get needles in me again. Like, because it's so annoying to have them on your arm, because you, like when I was holding the baby, I couldn't really like hold him in certain positions and they're just in the way and uncomfortable. When we got home, however, we went to my parents' house first because they, like where we lived at the time, there was a steep hill up to the apartment and I obviously could not do that. So we stayed at my parents' house. Also, their TV is like downstairs, and this is just when House of the Dragon had come out. So we really wanted to watch it. So I was like building up I was hyping myself up all day. I was like, I'm gonna fucking walk down the stairs. And then I took like extra painkillers and walked down the stairs, and it took so long, of course. Then we went home and oh my god, like I couldn't even, you know, I walked around with my crutches inside and I couldn't even like step over a towel on the floor. Like I couldn't lift my feet much. It was wild. Like and I had to put my crutches down everywhere, and our apartment was quite small and it was just such a mess. I couldn't bend down to wash my feet. My partner had to wash them in this like bucket. It was such a weird time. My partner had to, of course, do all of the cleaning, all of the cooking, all of the like taking out the trash, doing the laundry, going shopping. And when he had to go to the store, it was so scary because if the baby woke up, like I wouldn't be able to get him a bottle. And obviously I could have, but it's like you can't carry shit when you're on crutches, and it would have taken me so goddamn long to go and heat up a bottle. So I was just like terrified every time, and he would only leave for like 20 minutes and go to the store, but I was like, oh my god, please don't wake up. It was so bad. But luckily my friends also helped and like did us favors and stuff like to make our life easier. And my partner's birthday is in August, so I really wanted to do something for my partner for his birthday. So I got my friend to come and drive me and the baby because I couldn't carry the car seat because I could barely walk. Also, we went to a wedding in the beginning of August, and that was the first time that we went somewhere without taking the crutches because we had to go to a different island. We had a lot of stuff to bring, so it would be nice like to not bring the crutches, and that was the first time that I went somewhere without the crutches. I was, you know, feeling, you know, confident enough to not need them, and it was of course a big step, but I still walked with great difficulty. Like obviously I could walk, and it wasn't like I was never, you know, about to fall. It's not like I put myself at risk like by walking when I shouldn't have, but it was of course tough, and I couldn't walk like super long distances. You could tell that I was in pain and it was hard for me to walk, so people of course asked and stuff. I don't remember when this was exactly, but I remember we went to see my friends, and they live maybe a 15-minute walk away from where we lived then, and I walked there with him in the stroller, and I felt so proud of, like, my partner took the car with the car seat so that we could drive back home after. It was so good. I felt so good about actually, you know, walking there. It was such a big step, and 2 years prior I had run a marathon, so it was very weird that walking felt like an achievement. Very strange. So I wanted to do something for my partner's birthday in August, so I got my friend to help me go to town because I couldn't carry the car seat, so she like drove my car with us in it and helped me like around town so we could buy some presents, and one of my other friends made a cake for him. It was just so lovely to have a network of people to, you know, call upon when I really needed it, and I'm so lucky that I have such good friends, and they've really, you know, taken the time to listen to my story and, you know, listen and try and understand, you know, what we've gone through. So it's been very nice. I'm really glad that I've had such a good support network. We were gonna move to a bigger city in Norway and then probably have kids there, and I am so glad we didn't, because it's like having a good network around you, having your friends and family around you when you go through something like that, it's invaluable. So now I can walk fine. It's been a long journey, of course. In October, we moved into this apartment, and in the video where I give the empty apartment tour, I have a limp, but you know, for me, it's just nice to be able to walk, so I don't really notice it. And I don't know if it's noticeable now, but I remember I was a bit surprised when I saw the video and I was like, shit, is that how I walk? Because it's obvious that something is going on. Like, I do walk like someone who's had a hip replacement. Like, also, I think I already mentioned that I would do a video about the breastfeeding journey, but I was able to breastfeed 5 weeks after, like, I had to be on that antibiotics for 5 weeks. So when he was 5 weeks, you know, we got to start breastfeeding, and I thought it would be easy. I thought, because, you know, he had been wanting the boob so much, but it was not easy. It was such a fucking journey, but I will talk about that more. I really want to share that story because I'm so fucking proud that we were able to breastfeed after all that. And then I have some pointers with stuff that people might be wondering about after I've told this story. And one of them, I think a very obvious one that I haven't touched on, is how my partner was able to be in the hospital with me, and how, he was able to, be at home and take time off work. So we live in Norway. Luckily, it's such a privilege to just have a good government and a safety net that just, if you have to deal with shit like this, you're fine financially. Because I was on maternity leave, I was gonna take the first and the biggest portion of the maternity leave, or like the parental leave. And because I was sick, I went on sick leave, and my partner took over the maternity leave that I was on. So it was just parental leave at that point. So he took over that month. So I essentially lost that month, but I was still there with the baby, but it was not exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be at home, have friends over for coffee, and take walks with the stroller. That's not what I got. It was a really nice summer last year, and I didn't get to fucking enjoy it at all. I was inside the whole summer because we couldn't go outside. I couldn't walk. It sucked. And people are like, oh yeah, the winter is bad now because we had such a good summer. And I'm like, okay, but I'm just experiencing a bad winter. I am not, like, I didn't get to enjoy the summer. So this is not making up for anything, and yes, I got a baby out of it. I'm grateful for the baby, but I wouldn't say that, oh yeah, but at least the baby is fine, so blah, 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 blah. No, it was horrible, and I shouldn't have had to go through this. The other super obvious thing, we spent a month in hospital and we have no medical bills. We're so fucking privileged to live in Norway, and giving birth is free. Everything that has to do with birth and everything, like before and after, everything is free. You don't pay anything. We're so lucky. And also, like, if you have to stay in the hospital, it's free. You don't pay for that. So it's very nice that this is not like a financial burden on us. So we're really lucky, basically. And I don't take this privilege for granted, but at the same time I do, because I'm Norwegian, so that's always been my normal, but we're so lucky in this country. And then also people have asked me if this is something that would happen again, and of course it's something that I thought about too. And for a few days I genuinely thought that I can't do this again, like I can't get pregnant again, because if this would happen, we can't do this if we have another child, because my partner can't be in the hospital if we have a child at home. Like, this is not gonna work. So if this is likely to happen again, like, I can't fucking do this. So I was genuinely like Googling adoption and shit, and I was like, we can't afford this. But there's no reason this would happen again. I was just so unlucky. There is no reason why this would happen again. It's so incredibly rare. Doctors that had worked there for 30 years hadn't heard of this thing before, or seen it, or seen patients with it, especially after birth. This is so weird. It's kind of like freak accidents. Like, this is not a thing that happens. And then leading from that question, we do want another child, and I'm not scared to get pregnant again, because I just don't think this will happen again. I'm not worried about it. Maybe I will be if I do get pregnant, but right now I feel like it's so rare that I can't imagine it happening again. I think that was it, actually. I think I went through everything, but obviously there's much more. Like, I can't go through absolutely everything that happened and everything. It's a lot. This is a long story and a heavy story, kind of, but we're fine. I can walk. The baby's fine. Anyway, thank you so much if you watched this whole thing. Oh my god, thank you so much. Next video will be 24 hours with a 7-month-old, and my breastfeeding journey will happen at some point. So probably within a month. That's my goal. That's the goal right now. Okay, then I've said it. Okay, I'll just see you later. Bye.